Hello and welcome back to Cello from the Beginning. Well, today we're going to be using our new finger pattern, 0-1-2-4, and continuing it all the way from the D string across the A string. So we're using 0-1-2-4 on both the D and the A. So in the previous videos, you should have been practicing your second finger and using those drone videos to really help you find the correct in-tune location for that note on your fingerboard. Now, you may have noticed this video has a little bit of a strange title. It's called D Dorian. What in the world is D Dorian? D Dorian is a scale mode. So we know a scale already. We know our D major scale. We've played this, the 0-1-3-4 finger pattern on the D and A string. And that is one mode of the scale. There are actually 7 scale modes. So what in the world are we talking about when we say a scale mode? Well, I'll demonstrate. So if you're familiar with the piano keyboard, the white and black keys, I'm going to play a scale that uses only the white keys of the piano. And I'm going to go from C to C. And it will sound like a scale that you're familiar with. So there's our C major scale, a sound we know very well. But what if I play from A to A using only the white keys? There's a sound we're also very familiar with. That is a minor scale. But those are actually, major and minor are the names that we have given them. The original names of those modes were, the major scale is Ionian, and the minor scale is Aeolian. So we can start on any note and finish on any note within the same key signature, so in the case of C major, no sharps or flats, and get a different mode. Now, what happened was in Western classical music, those 2 modes, the one that we call major and minor, in the classical era, 1600 to 1750, really became the predominant modes, not exclusive, but close to exclusive modes that were used for writing music. But if you go earlier than that, into the Renaissance, into the Middle Ages, and even further back into ancient music, many other modes were used. A couple of them are kind of strange and they're hard to write music in, but many of them were used in Renaissance and medieval music. And then they reappear later, both in classical music, but especially in jazz. So let me show you what we're doing when we play this D Dorian scale. We are actually playing from using, if you will, only the white keys of the piano. We're playing from D to D. The D Dorian half step and whole step arrangement begins just like a D minor scale. In fact, the first 5 notes, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That just sounds like D minor. If I jump to the 7th and 8th note and skip the 6th note, it still sounds like D minor. Because the difference between the D Dorian scale and the D minor scale is only 1 note. It's the 6th scale step. So in D minor, we would expect a lowered 6th scale step. That's the so-called natural minor or Aeolian mode. So all that I've changed by using this, our finger pattern that we're using, is we've raised that 6th scale step. Another way of looking at it is we've put a whole step between the 5th and 6th scale step and a half step between the 6th and 7th, rather than the reverse. And so we're playing for our exercise today, we are in fact playing the D Dorian scale. So there's a lot of music theory. Let's get to playing. So we're just going to play the 0-1-2-4 finger pattern. 0-1-2-4 finger pattern. First on the D string and then the A string. Let's go from bottom to top. We'll go slowly. 1, 2, ready, play. D, 1, 2, 4, A, 1, 2, 4. Let's play from top to bottom. So we've got our fourth finger down. 2, 1, A, 4, 2, 1, D. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of the challenges of this finger pattern. The first is that our second finger, because of where we're used to it sitting when we've been playing 0-1-3, is going to want to sit high. So going up, it's fairly easy to correct. I just put it down a little closer to my first finger, but then remember, because I've pulled the second finger back a little, my fourth finger is going to want to come back to preserve the distance that I'm used to. So I'm going to have to reach a little bit with 4. Let's check that. Okay, so there it is. And then, so now I've actually got a little space between 3 and 4 that I didn't have before. I continue on the A. Remember to put 2 a little closer than we're used to. And reach for 4. And when we say reach, we know it's a very small reach. It's maybe not even half a finger width. But you can feel it, especially when you've been used to playing the 0-1-3-4 pattern. Now coming down, the trick is a little different. If I've played up and I've kept my fingers in position, then coming down isn't so hard on the A. I just take my 4 and 3 away. If I've just started here, then what's going to tend to happen is I'm going to tend to want to have my fingers lie in their 0-1-3-4 position that we're used to. So when and then you can see that the space is open between 1 and 2. So when I come down, I just make the slightest adjustment to pull that 2 back. So if you can get in the habit of knowing which pattern you're going to use and getting the fingers lined up, to begin with, that's a good habit. But also we do have to be able to make these adjustments because we're not always playing in one pattern. I might be playing up with a C sharp and down with a C natural. Right? That would be something that we would have very commonly in music, is accidentals, where we change from one note to another. So we have to be able to both make the hand position initially, in this case setting up with the lower second finger, but also to make the adjustments. So it's good to practice both. So let's do a little more work with our scale. So let's go a little faster. In fact, let's put some slurs in. We haven't done slurs in a while. So let's slur let's slur 2 notes together. So we'll have D, 1, 2, 4, A, 1, 2, 4. I know my bow is a little off the screen, but we're just slurring in 2 note groups. 1, 2, ready, play. D, 1, 2, 4, A, 1, 2, 4. Let's reverse it and come down. 4, 2, 1, A, 4, 2, 1, D. All right, let's go a little bit faster, maybe. About that speed. 1 and 2. We'll play them as eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Come down. Okay, so hopefully you're getting a feel for this scale. So in the next video, I have created a D Dorian groove track. So this is going to be a jazzy sounding track. It goes on for several minutes. Don't feel like you have to play it for 4 minutes. There's no music for it. Let me explain to you what you're going to do. First, let me explain what the track is. It's kind of a jazz backing sound, and there are 2 chords. There's a D minor chord and what we call a G7 chord. It goes back and forth between the 2 chords so it doesn't get super boring. Otherwise, it was just a D chord for 4 minutes. It would be a little tedious. So going back between those 2 chords keeps us using the notes of the D Dorian scale. And that means that at any time during the music, you can play any of the notes that we have been playing, the 0, 1, 2, 4 finger pattern on the D or the A string. So what I want you to do is start out just by playing what we just played, scales. So turn it on, let it get started, you'll feel it, and just start playing scales in quarter notes or scales in half notes or whatever you're comfortable with, and play along with the track, and you'll hear how your notes fit in. Then you can start making up your own patterns. You can change rhythms, you can play arpeggios, you can repeat notes, you can play lots of F naturals, whatever you want to do. The only rule is to use the notes of the D Dorian scale. So D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and D. So this is just a fun exercise. You're not getting a grade, so even if you're scared of improvising, don't be. You're just there, watching the video, listening to the music, and just practicing the notes. And the main point of this is to both be using the scale with some chords that go along with it, but also to help you tune your scale. So it's kind of serving the same function as our drone track, but in a more interesting and musical way. So you'll be able to hear if your notes are going wrong, if you're getting too high with your second finger or your fourth finger's out of tune, because the notes will be there in the chords that are behind you. So just have some fun with it. And enjoy it, and practice using that 0, 1, 2, 4 finger pattern. And like I said, you can come down, you can go up, you can do, put different intervals in there, whatever you want to do. And then after that, in the next video, we will actually do a piece that is in the D Dorian mode. So I look forward to seeing you there. Enjoy.